Okay, moving on to the next segment of today's show. There was significant news in the NFL that dropped during this past weekend, and it was that J.J. Watt, a guy who has played for the Houston Texans organization for his entire 10-year career, multi-time Defensive Player of the Year award winner, it was announced that the Houston Texans have decided to grant him his release, which he requested, and he's going to become a free agent. And on this segment, we are going to talk all about the possible different options for J.J. Watt to go and why he would be a good fit here and a good fit there. But before I get into that, I just wanted to say the Houston Texans, I don't even know what to call them at this point, man. Because with J.J. Watt, I understand that you wanted to do him right. He is one of the best players, probably the best player in the history of your franchise. If it's not Deshaun Watson himself right now, yeah, I think we would all agree it's J.J. Watt. And the Houston Texans, I believe, could have gotten something back for J.J. Watt, right? They could have gotten back a second-round pick, a third-round pick. Nothing crazy, nothing spectacular, but things that you wouldn't deny would be able to help the Houston Texans win football games, because that's my concern. One of the main reasons why I was so heavy on the Houston Texans right now, if the situation is the same as the last time we checked it, where Deshaun Watson just isn't even bothering opening up Cal McNair and Jack Easterby's call, then I think you're going to need as many assets as possible if you're going to trade him, because it was proven last year that even when the Texans got a really good season from Deshaun Watson and a really good season from a guy like J.J. Watt, even with those two things occurring, they were actually only able to win a total of 4 games, which in my opinion is not acceptable. And what also isn't acceptable is the fact that even if Deshaun Watson somehow, some way does play under center for the Houston Texans next year, how many games realistically could this team possibly win? Their roster right now just flat out is not good enough. And the thing is also that when you look at J.J. Watt, right, I think that we have a legitimate reason to question, okay, why did the Texans, out of everything, decide to cut him instead of trade him? Why didn't they want to get something back? And the more and more I thought about it, I actually have something here. The reason why, apparently, according to many people around the media, that the Texans cut J.J. Watt rather than trading him was because they wanted to make their organization look good, considering everything that's been going down with them recently. And I'll explain to you guys what I mean. I think we can all agree right now that the Houston Texans are the biggest laughingstock of an organization in not only the NFL, but I think you could also make the argument in really all of pro sports, because think about it. It was only about a year and a half, maybe a little less, a year ago, when the Texans were in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And they were up 24-0 in that first half. And J.J. Watt could have had his first and only opportunity of his career so far to play for a Vince Lombardi trophy. And we all know what happens. Houston blows the lead. Kansas City comes back. Bill O'Brien trades DeAndre Hopkins. And it all goes south from there. And J.J. Watt has been a guy that's been very loyal to Houston. We know what he's been able to do in their community with the Hurricane Harvey and winning Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's a phenomenal guy. And I do think that considering who he is and considering how big of a part of the Houston Texans organization he was, I understand why Houston thought it was going to make themselves look good by cutting J.J. Watt and just saying, okay, you can make more money if you sign now before the free agent period, which is always good. You're always going to have your chance to sign with whoever you want. You've never been a free agent before. Go ahead. The reason why the Texans did that was because in the media, and really according to all the other players and all the other teams in the league right now, and I can't blame them, the Houston Texans, their reputation isn't very good right now. No one wants to play for them. And when you're an NFL team competing in this year's NFL with how much talent there is, that is a huge issue. That you're going to choose how your team is perceived by others instead of making your team better. Okay. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know about the Houston Texans, then I don't know what to tell you, because this organization is an absolute disgrace. And I get it. They wanted to let J.J. Watt go to whatever team he wanted to, but they did it to themselves. The fact that they are even in this position to begin with, the fact that everything went down with Deshaun Watson is pretty ridiculous to begin with. I don't understand how you could have a quarterback like that and not just do whatever you can, whether it's fire Jack Easterby, whether it's hire Eric Bieniemy. You just need to get that guy on the right page. You need to get whoever it is involved, Deshaun Watson, Jack Easterby, Cal McNair, whoever it is. All parties need to be fixed and on the same page before the season starts, or else we could be in trouble, because the Deshaun Watson trade talks have died down a little bit over the last couple days, and I think right now there is a good chance that at week 1 next year, Watson will be the quarterback of the Houston Texans. I don't necessarily know if he'll be suited up under center and ready to go, but Deshaun Watson, the more I'm starting to think about it, he's going to be a Houston Texan next year. But does that mean I personally wouldn't trade him, considering how bad the situation has gotten? If you are not willing to fix this, and if you are not willing to solve this issue, then I don't know what to tell you. The Houston Texans don't deserve to be a winner. So thinking about some of the teams that J.J. Watt could possibly go to and where he will end up, and there are two teams that come to everyone's mind right away, and I believe that these two teams are going to be the two front runners to possibly land J.J. Watt, and those two teams are the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers. And I will start off with the Packers, and I'll say this. I think that J.J. Watt is actually a really good fit for the Green Bay Packers. I think that when we see Green Bay from afar and we blend them in with your Tampa Bays and your New Orleanses of years past and Seattle and San Francisco, you're going to be like, oh, they're the Green Bay Packers. They have Aaron Rodgers. They are always going to be right in that conversation. And a lot of times it is a similar case with free agents. And when the Packers go after free agents, they usually don't sign them. Like, they'll go after them and say they're interested, but are they really interested? Are they ever really interested in bringing in a big-time name free agent? I don't think so. Green Bay is also conservative with their drafting. We saw that they drafted Jordan Love, a quarterback, for their future instead of drafting a skill position player to help out Aaron Rodgers and his team right now. And maybe if he had another weapon in that NFC Championship game against Tampa Bay, maybe the Packers are in the Super Bowl or hoisting up the Lombardi Trophy. We'll never know. But at the same time, when you look at the Green Bay Packers and everything that's been going on with them, I think J.J. Watt would be a really good fit, because you're seeing that in a place like Tampa Bay, where, keep in mind, before this season and before Tom Brady got there, the Buccaneers had the literal opposite of a winning culture. And I understand they won a Super Bowl in 2002. I get it. But at the same time, Tampa Bay before this season hadn't made the playoffs since 2007. That's such a long time ago, and they were just sitting there in football irrelevancy. And that's where the Texans are about to approach if they lose Deshaun Watson and now that they've lost J.J. Watt. But going back to Green Bay, the Packers have never been in on those big free agents. But a team like Tampa Bay, where Tom Brady comes in, and it's like a ring chaser in the NBA, as people like to call them. But at the same time, it's rubbing off. Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay and winning there is rubbing off on other people around the league. And now they're realizing that it is super attractive to play in a place like Tampa, Florida. And I give the Buccaneers credit for going for it and being able to bring in a guy like Tom Brady and realizing, okay, Brady coming in, his work ethic and his willingness to win is going to rub off on everyone else, and then hopefully players will want to come there. I think that the Green Bay Packers need to start adapting to that mantra. And keep in mind, the New England Patriots used to do this when Tom Brady was there as well. There's a reason why Bill Belichick was just always, okay, whoever it is, if it's Antonio Brown or Josh Gordon, I'm willing to give them one more shot, Chad Ochocinco, in order to redeem themselves in this NFL. And for many people, it has worked out. For many people, unfortunately, it hasn't worked out. But I still think we could all agree on the way this situation has gone down with the Green Bay Packers over the past couple of years, I think we could all agree that they are a place that needs to attract superstars. They are a team that needs to be, I think, a little bit more aggressive in the pursuit of getting great players if they want to win a Super Bowl. Because I'll just say this, the Green Bay Packers, no matter how many years in a row they're in the playoffs, no matter how many games they've won, if you have two quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, two guys that are both historically good and guys that could lead their teams to victory anytime they get out there on the field, two phenomenal players, and they've only had two combined Super Bowls from those two guys. If you're the Green Bay Packers, you need to start doing whatever you can in order to improve your team and get right in the Super Bowl mix. I think that when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they are a team that when you look at their roster, they could be a possible spot for J.J. Watt if he really wants to win a ring that bad. Because J.J. Watt and the Bucs, I'll say this, J.J. Watt has made plenty of money throughout his NHL career. J.J. Watt has done so much for the community in Houston. I don't think money is his number one priority. So if he really wants to win, he could go to a place like Green Bay. He could go to a place like Tampa Bay. I've heard Cleveland in the mix, Buffalo, Indy. So those are all secondary options, in my opinion. I think that J.J. Watt and the Packers would be the ideal situation for both parties. That defense will always need help getting to the quarterback. I understand they have some pass rushers, but we saw in that NFC Championship game against Tom Brady, they were struggling against that Bucs offensive line. The other team is the Steelers, playing with his brother TJ, and I get it. It would be a great story. His other brother, Derek Watt, is there as well at fullback. But I just don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers right now are a Super Bowl contender. And I've been someone that has been on this Pittsburgh Steeler bandwagon since the start of last season. But after what I saw from Ben Roethlisberger in the playoffs against the Cleveland Browns, that just didn't look like the Big Ben I know and love. So I don't think Pittsburgh is a Super Bowl contender. I think the place for J.J. Watt to go is Green Bay. And the fact that this situation has happened with Houston is still blowing my mind and utterly ridiculous.